I wanted to finish off the video that I started yesterday where I was talking about racism and the fact that to some degree I understand and sympathize, and then to another degree I find it very hypocritical to say when one acts in one way it's racism, but then when another acts in the same way it can't be racism. And definitions don't change. There was a lot of great information that I put in the first video. Unfortunately, with the part one, I didn't get a chance to complete my thought because the next person that was supposed to come in, came in like 2 hours early, which I don't understand why this dude keeps coming in earlier and earlier. It makes absolutely no sense to me. I don't know who would come in early to work just so they could just sit there. Not even like he swipes in, just comes in and sits. That's neither here nor there. So as I was discussing the different meanings of racism, I was trying to break down how if a black person commits those same actions, then what would be the word for it? If it's not racism, then what would it be? Because if you hold a doctrine that you believe that the black man is better than the white man or any other man on the face of the planet, by definition you are exhibiting racism. Now, because there's multifaceted meanings to it, and the number two meaning has more to do with governments and policies and institutions. And I would argue to say that though there may not be internationally recognized institutions or governments or policies that blacks may affect on a public policy scale, there is the black home. And at the end of the day, the black home is pretty much ran like a government or dictatorship. Especially if you come from the single mother background where there really is no negotiation. If you grow up in a black home, whether you had both parents or not, chances are you got very limited access to express how you felt if you were the child. So to honestly say that there isn't some form of it, I think is disingenuous. My point being in part two of the racism video is not really to excuse or deny. It is to see at what moment does the definition apply, and when should it apply beyond the dominant culture. There was a video that I saw the other day, last night actually, that Tommy Sotomayor did, and I thought it was very interesting. And it was a video that he did, I think he did a while ago, but I just saw it. And it was talking about, it was a little mini documentary by that beloved Root. The Root. I love them, those guys. Talking about the chemicals that are in perms and stuff of that nature, which for whatever reason weave seems to be the. I wish there would be more of an in-depth conversation about that, but it was about the hair chemicals targeting black women. And Tommy Sotomayor made a great point. He said, they talk about the European standard of beauty, but who enforces it? Who enforces the European standard of beauty? And he asked the question. He said, is it men or women? He said, is it black men or whatnot? But then he expanded beyond that and said, is it men or women? And he gave a bunch of examples of how the mom, encourages the daughter to wear makeup and this and that. He said, how many dads do you think would encourage their daughters to go out and wear makeup, wear the mini skirt, wear tight pants, wear tight clothing. How many men do you think would encourage their daughters to do that? Because, I have 3 sons. But if I had a daughter, there's no way in hell I would ever sanction her to wear tight clothing. I get at my wife about it sometimes. It's like, why are you wearing that out in public when it's like you don't need to show other people what I see? Okay? Like, you don't need to give the silhouette, you don't need to give the illusion. Like, that's not for anyone else but me. But I don't want to get too far to being a path, but back more so to the European standard of beauty. A lot of black women, black people in general, will always tout that and say, see, that's a form of racism. But again, who implements it? Who pushes it? Who says your hair is nappy? Who says your kitchen is nappy? Who says, who makes the most comments about hair? Is it black men or is it black women? So who's really pushing this European standard of beauty? Who's really pushing this light versus dark? I'll say this one story, and I'll be done with this particular topic here. When I was younger, there was I'm cool with her to this day, but there was a mixed girl that had a crush on me, and every day I'd run from her, because when you're a young boy, you think girls are nasty until you hit puberty, then you want to get nasty with the girl. But she would always try to kiss me on the cheek or whatever, and I would run. I'd be like, ew, and I didn't understand it, but from hearing the terminology of my grandmother and my mother talking about dark and lovely was the perms they used to put on their hair back in the 80s and 90s, probably still to this day, dark and lovely, right? So I would hear how they talk about their hair. Oh, it's so nappy in the kitchen, and I gotta, So keep in mind, it was a biracial girl. Her hair wasn't really kept, and it was very nappy. Even though, because they say it's the light dark thing, she liked me. It was the weirdest thing. I think sometimes my life is like an example of oddities that wouldn't necessarily normally happen. But yeah, there was she was the only, outside of my wife, was a little bit darker than what she was. My wife's not mixed, but I'm just saying skin tone wise. There's really only been 2 light-skinned girls that ever liked me. You know what I'm saying? And I don't really count the first one because that's childhood shit. But her hair was really nappy. And I remember my mom sat me down and my grandma sat me down. She said, why don't you like this girl? This girl always, she always try to hug you and touch you and whatever. And you always treat her so bad. And I said, well, because her hair's nappy. And they got mad at me. But, being young, you can't articulate yourself. But where did I hear that terminology from? I got it from them. All they talked about was how nappy their hair was. So I saw what they were doing with their hair. And I saw what this girl wasn't doing with her hair. So in my mind, I thought that would be normal to put these chemicals and these smelly things on their hair to get it to look straight, or to put a little crimp in it. I thought that was normal. And to see her not do that, that's why I said what I said, because I was basing it off of what they said. I was probably 6 or 7. There was no malice behind it. It was just oh, I see that you guys don't like nappy hair, so I don't, so I'm assuming I shouldn't like nappy hair. So again, who pushes the European standard of beauty? It's like being oblivious to the elephant in the room, or the elephant that's sitting on your chest, and you're saying, man, I can't breathe. I wonder what's going on. And the elephant is sitting on your chest. And it's like everyone that walks in, Wow, man, why you struggling to breathe, man? You know what's wrong? And the elephant is sitting on their chest and nobody's calling it out. So it's like, at what point do we stop and say, fuck the European standard of beauty? Let's have our own. Like, let's take it back to the 70s, man. That's one thing when my mom that inspired me. I grew an afro throughout the 90s because I was inspired by what I saw from the 70s. I saw my mom with an afro and the clothes and stuff and just the pride in how they look. You don't see that nowadays. So you can't blame white folks for that because black people transfer fashion and all this other stuff amongst one another. So it gets put in the head of one idiot, and that idiot goes back and it infects the whole community. But you can't blame everything on white people when a lot of the things we do, we bring upon ourselves. That's my only point. It's not to excuse what happened in the past. It's not to deny what happened in the past. What I am saying is, at what point in time are we going to stop and say, all right, we know what they did. Now it's time to move forward and prevent the past from repeating itself. That's all. It's not to excuse anything. It's to say, enough's enough, damn it. Let's stop with the excuses and let's start with the solutions. That's all. So, is it racism when someone internalizes something and then deflects it off on someone else and claims that as racism? Or is it the doctrine of, I believe I'm better than you, you're this, you're that, and then you try to deny what you're doing is racism? If we can spot it in one direction, we damn sure should be able to spot it in coming back in the opposite direction. That's all. I just keep it 100 and I try to keep it fair. That's all at the end of the day.